In many labs, we need to be able to cut and bend glass tubing. So in this video, we're going to look at how to take a nice long piece of glass tubing and break it down into a smaller piece and put a bend in it. So the first step is we need a piece of glass tubing and a glass cutter. Now this glass cutter has a little divot in it on either side so that I can hold it with two fingers and push down into the glass. And it has this little ceramic cutter. What this cutter does is it'll make a groove in the glass. It won't cut all the way through the glass, but it'll put a groove in the glass that will allow me to break the glass along a specific point. So in order to put that groove in, I just bring my clamp up and I clamp it onto the glass. And I'm going to turn it back and forth, just back and forth like this. I'm pressing down until I start to hear it scratch in. And once it starts to scratch, I can clearly see a scratch. You can see it right there. Now what I need to do is I need to get that scratch all the way around. So I'm just going to be working this back and forth, moving a little on each time. Until I get that scratch all the way around. Should have one even scratch all the way around. Now when you're doing this, make sure you're being careful that you're putting even pressure, not too hard because otherwise you'll just shatter the glass. And make sure that as you cut it, you are holding it in the same spot. That's why we do a small movement back and forth, because if I go all the way around each time, this glass tends to slide up, and then I start to just scratch down the glass tubing instead of getting a nice ring all the way around it. Once I have this ring all the way around it, this is going to give the glass a specific point to break on. So if I take the glass like this and break it along that line, I get a clean break. And so now I've got a flat surface. It's still sharp, and it's still not going to be fit for using in a lab because these sharper edges will catch on rubber stoppers. And if they catch on rubber stoppers, they won't go through. I won't be able to pull it out. And when I try to push it in, it'll probably break, and I could damage something and hurt my hand, potentially. So we need to be able to smooth out these edges, and we need to be able to put a bend in this. So next I'm going to show you how to bend this. First I'm going to cut a longer piece because this is a little too short to bend. Okay, here I have a Bunsen burner ready to go, going nice and strong. I've got my roaring flame. You may not be able to see this in the video, but with that roaring flame, we've got that nice little blue cone right in the middle of the Bunsen burner. Remember, just on the edge of that blue cone is going to be the hottest part of the flame. And so when I am melting glass in order to smooth it out, I'm going to be putting the glass tube in that part of the flame. So I'm just going to bring it in until I get to that point, and I'm going to be moving it back and forth, just rotating it back and forth. The flame will start to turn orange when the glass starts to mold. And I'm going to be able to see the glass visibly change. If I'm looking at it, I'll be able to see those rough edges start to smooth out. You won't be able to see this in the video, but if I'm looking at it in person, I can start to see that change. I'm just looking for a little bit more. There we go. So now you may not be able to see that, but I had a rough edge before, and I have a smooth edge now. See the difference between these two edges. This one is sharp, this one is smooth. So next I need to melt the other side as well to get that nice and smooth. And because this is long enough, I can hold it here. But this is still going to be really hot up here. So I'm going to be careful not to touch it on the hot part, otherwise I would burn my hand. You should be waiting for it to cool down. So once again, I'm just rotating it back and forth. And now I've got both sides nice and smooth. Those will be able to fit into a cork. Now I'm going to give this time to cool down so that I can melt the middle of this glass tube and allow it to bend. And then we'll look at that. Okay, now that my tube is cool enough to hold it on either end, I'm going to be putting it into the flame in order to bend it. In order to do this, I need to put this right at the tip of that flame, where that hottest part of the flame reaches its maximum height. I need to put that right in that tip, so that that tip is going to be heating one part of this glass tube. If I put it any lower, I'm going to be heating two sides of it, and I'm going to get two separate bends, and that is not good. I want to get one single bend. So I'm going to put this in, and once again, I am rotating it right at the tip of that flame, right at the tip of that light blue cone. It starts to heat up. It starts to turn that orange color. And then I'll know it's ready because this end will start to droop down. Once that happens, that part of the tube will be soft enough to bend. Now I can just let gravity do its thing. It's coming down. I pull it out. Voila. I have a glass tube that is bent. If I need it a little more bent, I can push it against the table lightly. If I need it less, same thing. If I've just gone too far, I could heat it up a little bit again. It should still be nice and hot. Just get it until it's a little bit ready to move. Then I can just use my table to bend it back and forth. So, there we go. Glass tubing bent and ready to go.